Welcome back to the channel. I've explored some of the most haunted corners of Kentucky, from old sanatoriums to forgotten battlefields. I thought I'd seen it all, but nothing prepared me for what I experienced at Cave Hill Cemetery in Louisville. It wasn't just the sprawling graves or the hauntingly beautiful statues that got to me. It was something else. It was the feeling of being watched, the way the shadows danced when they had no reason to, and the chilling realization that something followed me home and never left. This all began when I was deep into a research project on Louisville's local legends and hauntings. It was a fascinating dive into the city's history, but one place kept coming up, mentioned in hushed, almost reverent tones: Cave Hill. Every locale I spoke to, from old librarians to young baristas, gave me the same warning, almost like a rehearsed line. Whatever you do, don't go into Cave Hill after sunset. They'd say it with a nervous laugh, but their eyes held a seriousness that their smiles couldn't hide. It was a warning disguised as a joke. One woman, an antique shop owner with eyes that seemed to hold stories of their own, told me about the entity they call the Shadow Man. She described a tall, featureless figure, cloaked in a blackness so profound it seemed to swallow the light around it. He walks the cemetery paths after dark, a silent, empty silhouette where a person should be. She said that if he singles you out, if he notices you, you'll feel his presence behind you for the rest of your life. A permanent, unseen companion. Well, if you know me, you know that's not a warning. That's an invitation. So, on a late October evening, I went. The air was thick and cold, a classic autumn night where the world feels like it's holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. The fog rolled in low, blanketing the ground in a soft gray haze. I parked my car just outside the main gates, which were already locked for the night. The old stone wall surrounding the cemetery looked ancient and imposing, but I found a spot where it was low enough to climb. With a deep breath, I pulled myself over, landing with a soft crunch in a sea of dead, brittle leaves. The silence inside was immediate and absolute. It was a different kind of quiet than the city outsider heavy, waiting silence. The moonlight filtered through the fog, casting an ethereal glow on the rows of marble angels and grand mausoleums. They looked like silent guardians of a forgotten city. Every sound was magnified. The crunch of my boots on the gravel path, the rustle of leaves caught in a phantom breeze, it all echoed in the stillness, making me feel like an intruder in a sacred space. I ventured deeper into the cemetery, my flashlight beam cutting a path through the darkness. I was captivated by the history around me, reading names carved into stone over a century ago, imagining the lives these people lived. I eventually found myself in one of the older sections, where I came across a large, weathered family tomb. The name had been worn away by decades of rain and wind, leaving it anonymous and mysterious. And that's when I heard it. A slow, distinct scraping sound, like a shoe dragging on gravel. I spun around, my heart immediately jumping into my throat. I scanned the path behind me with my flashlight. Nothing. Just rows of silent headstones and the creeping fog. I told myself it was just an animal, a raccoon or a deer. But the sound came again, soft, steady. It seemed to move only when I moved, and stop the very instant I stopped. It was mimicking me. I raised my flashlight again, this time sweeping the beam methodically from side to side, probing the darkness between the ancient trees and tombs. And for just a fraction of a second, my light caught it. Big a figure, impossibly tall, peeking from behind a massive oak tree. Its outline was darker than the night itself, a void in the shape of a man. I froze, my breath catching in my chest. My flashlight, as if on cue, began to flicker erratically. The air around me plunged into an intense, unnatural cold. My breath came out in thick white clouds, even though the wind had completely died down. When I finally got the courage to turn back toward the path, the figure was gone, vanished. But the sound of the footsteps, it hadn't stopped. In fact, it was closer now, much closer. That's when my survival instinct kicked in. I ran. I didn't care about being quiet anymore. I bolted through the rows of graves, past the mournful gazes of stone angels. My only goal, the wall I'd climbed over what felt like an eternity ago. But every time I risked a glance over my shoulder, I could see its movement in the periphery. A tall, black shadow keeping pace with me. Never running, never rushing, just following. I was almost at the fence when my foot caught on an exposed root. I hit the ground hard, the impact knocking the wind out of me. My flashlight flew from my hand and rolled across the grass. Its beam came to rest on the base of a large, ornate headstone. And that's when I saw it clearly for the first time, and my blood ran absolutely cold. The shadow wasn't cast by anything. There was no body, no tree, no source at all. It was just a black shape, stretching impossibly long across the ground, reaching, crawling toward me. Panic gave me a surge of adrenaline. I scrambled to my feet, ignoring the pain in my knee, and launched myself at the wall. I vaulted over it, landing clumsily but safely on the pavement outside the cemetery gates. I quickly looked back through the cold iron bars. The path inside was completely empty. There was no shadow, no sound, just that heavy, oppressive stillness. I scrambled back to my car, my hands shaking so badly I could barely fit the key in the ignition. Before I started the engine, I took one last, compulsive look in the rearview mirror, and for half a heartbeat I swear I saw a dark, human-shaped form sitting in my back seat. I blinked and it was gone. That was 2 years ago. I've moved 3 times since then. Different cities, different homes, trying to outrun a memory. But it's no use. Some nights, when I'm all alone and the house is quiet, I'll hear it. Faint footsteps just behind me. Slow, steady, perfectly matching my own. And when I whip around to look, there's never anyone there. Because the old woman was right. Once the shadow man from Cave Hill sees you, you don't really leave. He just lets you think you did. Thanks for listening to my story. If you've ever had a similar experience, or have your own tales from a haunted place, share them in the comments below. And if you enjoy stories that explore the unexplained, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more. Stay safe out there.